What's going on, Chicago Tough sports fans? I'm here with the GOAT, Paul Hitman Connor, and we're going to do one of many weekly Bears preview shows. So we're pretty excited. It's finally football season. Nice little break from baseball. Baseball's getting a little stressful. Playoffs are coming up for the White Sox, so it's nice to convert our attention to another situation, another sport, possibly another problem for Bears fans, but we will see. So let's just get to it. Let's talk quarterback situation. As you know, Andy Dalton's starting over Justin Fields. So, Hitman, take it away, man. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, look, it depends. I mean, do you want my meatball fan answer, or do you want like a logical answer? Because you know me, I can do both.
Let's get the meatball.
Oh, the meatball answers. I wanted Justin Fields to start from day one.
Yeah.
That's just me being a fan, you know. But
I'm not even a Bears fan, and I don't like Andy Dalton starting over Justin Fields.
No, I don't either. But you know, I get it. You know, they want to kind of transition that. Also, it depends on how the Bears are doing and how the offense is doing, how Andy Dalton is doing. But I think there's a couple of things in play here. Number one, well, a few things. Number one, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to bring a quarterback along in terms of if you want to have him sit for a few games and then, you know, if something goes wrong and, you know, you want to bring him in, fine. But if you want to throw him into the fire so he can do some stuff, hey, that's cool too. It all depends on the team's outlook and how they want to approach it. It's worked both ways. Bears fans have gotten to a point where, and I actually thought about this earlier today, that they're just sick and tired of the McCaskies, sick and tired of Ryan Pace, sick and tired of Matt Nagy. So anything that comes out of their mouths, they're just not, you know, enamored with whatever that they're saying. Another thing that's interesting is that if the Bears would have just, you know, not, you know, let's say sign Andy Dalton, just sign some Joe Schmo to be the second string quarterback, you wouldn't have this problem. You could still went out and got Justin Fields. Yep. Another thing is the Bears didn't necessarily articulate a really good plan in terms of this, because everything is up for interpretation. It was like, Andy's our guy. We're going to start. Now it's, you know, we'll see how he goes. Well, we'll know when he's ready. Okay, well, how do you know when he's ready? If he's, you know, that's the question.
Yeah.
And then you get to the Bears fan aspect of this, which is, look, I'm 40 years old. I've been a Bears fan for over 35 years, right?
There you go.
I've been a Bears fan for over 35 years.
Oh, excuse me.
But there's been some bad quarterback play within that time frame.
Yep.
And finally you get a guy who Bears fans think could be that guy, you know, and they want to see him play right away. And there's nothing wrong with that. Look, there's nothing wrong with what the Bears are doing in terms of setting him and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with Bears fans saying, hey, we want Justin to play.
Wasn't it said that the Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passing quarterback? And
the Bears
be the first one.
Yeah, the Bears never had a 4,000. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I mean, Cutler came close a couple of times, but outside of that, I mean, the Bears never had a 4,000-yard passing quarterback. Just never happened.
What was his draft pick number? I know he was first round. What number?
I believe he was 11. He was on the Bears moved from 20 to 11 to get him.
Okay.
And they only gave up in essence one first round pick, and that's next year's.
Okay.
You know, which is a really good, you know, and like I said, I know Bears fans are excited. You know, I'm excited. I want to see him. to be perfectly honest with you, the only reason why I bought Madden this year just so I can play with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
But like I'll give you a perfect example. Like one of my former football players texted me. It was like, we got Justin Fields. I'm like, yeah, we did. Like I'm excited too. But this is the route that the Bears have taken. I hope, just let me say this. I'm not going to be a Bears fan that's going to openly root against Andy Dalton to fail. Because at the end of the day, I am a Bears fan and I want to see my team win.
Yeah, that's really cool that you say that because, of course, you've said it already that we all want, even me, I'm not a Bears fan, but I want to see Justin Fields play.
Right.
He should be starting over Andy Dalton.
Right.
Andy Dalton starting, it's not a terrible thing.
No.
It's really not. I went back, I looked at his stats from last year. Not his career stats, his stats with Dallas. He went 4 for 5. As you know, he came in, Dak Prescott took that terrible leg injury and unfortunately healed, and he's playing again, which I hate. Dalton threw for over 2,000 yards. I think he threw for like 2,107 yards. 14 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns, 8 picks. I mean, that's not terrible for Andy Dalton.
No. And what you get with Andy Dalton, you get competence.
Yeah, you do.
But Bears fans want more than competent. They want superstardom. They want upper echelon quarterback play. And Bears fans, and I'm included in that, we feel that Justin Fields is that guy. It's just that we might have to wait a little bit. But, as I stated earlier, I'm not going to actively root against Andy Dalton to fail just because I want to see Justin Fields play. At the end of the day, I'm a Bears fan. I mean, and I'm going to root for whoever is out there at quarterback.
Absolutely. It's funny. Back to Dalton. His best game last year, guess who his best game came against last year?
Your Eagles.
My Eagles. 377 yards, 3 touchdowns. He went 22 for 30. His passing was 73.3% against my Eagles. I mean, so for anyone to say Andy Dalton is bad, I don't think he's bad. I think they're just pissed off that Fields isn't starting.
Well,
you drafted my first round, and to not start him, to me that doesn't make sense in a way. Unless he like really sucks, which I think we all know Justin Fields, he doesn't suck. He's good. Or he sustains a huge injury, which he hasn't. Knock on wood. Yeah, knock on wood. I'll even do that for you guys. I don't see any reason for him not to start. And when I heard that Matt Nagy said that under no circumstance is Justin Fields starting over Andy Dalton, I mean, that was mind-boggling to me. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, see, that's why I said earlier that just some of the things that came out of the organization's, mouths, just was just baffling. And this whole quarterback thing has been, all right, let's take Trubisky out of the equation, whatever. But even after the season's over, them going after, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and then didn't get the trade or the free agent signing of Jameis Winston nor Russell Wilson. Now you're like, we need a quarterback.
Yep.
And so, I mean, they had to pay money for Andy Dalton. I don't think that they had Justin Fields in mind. Maybe they did, but I mean, even if they had it in mind, I probably wouldn't have signed Andy Dalton. I mean, Andy Dalton wasn't my first choice.
No. When I heard Andy Dalton signed by the Bears, that was I feel for you guys. I would be, as an Eagles fan, if I heard that the Eagles signed Andy Dalton, I would be pissed. I wouldn't be surprised because they sign every goddamn quarterback that there is. But I would be pissed if I had Andy Dalton starting over my first round draft pick.
Yeah, and that's where we are as Bears fans. I mean, we want to see Andy Dalton not. I mean, look, for me, I want to see Andy Dalton succeed because if he succeeds, my favorite football team is winning games.
Yep.
But there's a part of me that's just kind of like, hey, I want to see the shiny new toy. I want to see Justin Fields go out there and be able to do the things that we know he can do or figure that he can do.
I don't know. I don't know if I heard it from one of you guys or on the radio or TV. I can't recall, but I remember hearing that the possible reason Andy Dalton starting over Fields against the Rams is because, I mean, the speculation is the Rams are going to mop the floor with the Bears. They're going to destroy the Bears. That's the speculation, and they don't want Justin Fields to take on that responsibility of losing the game against the Rams.
Well, I think that's a dumb reason. I mean, the whole reason why you put the rookie out there is once again, it goes back to, I don't necessarily think there's a right or wrong way. It just depends on how the organization wants to view it and how fans interpret it. I think that's the wrong way of looking at that. If that's truly the reason why he's starting is that Nagy doesn't want Justin Fields to take the brunt of the loss.
It's a very stupid reason.
I think that's a very dumb reason. I mean, why draft him number one and then because eventually he's going to have to play tough defenses.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't buy that argument. I mean, if the argument is like you want him to sit and learn, all right, fine, but don't tell me that you don't want him to play because you're concerned that his confidence is going to be shaken or he's going to have, Aaron Donald sitting on his head.
Okay, so what? It apparently wasn't one of you guys I heard it from. I did hear that from somewhere. I tried finding it, scrolling through text messages, looking online. I couldn't find anything, but I swear I heard that from somewhere.
No, it's made the rounds within social media and it's in sports talk radio. I mean, there's rumors about that, because they're playing the Rams and that defense is pretty good and with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. And, there's that. I mean, that's been going on since, they drafted Justin Fields back in April.
Okay, now this next topic, it does pertain to Justin Fields, and it is a concern for me. I'm obviously an Eagles fan, but your Bears team went and signed someone this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive line for you guys at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And starting Jason Peters. I'm so sorry, Bears fans out there. You have my sympathy. Quarterback is going to be murdered. Fields is right hand, throws right or left.
Right.
He's going to be murdered from the blind side. Jason Peters, I cannot remember, as an Eagles fan, I cannot remember the last time he was 100% healthy and he was able to complete an entire season. He wasn't even healthy the year my Eagles won the Super Bowl. He went down, I believe it was right before, no, not right before, I think towards the middle of that season. He went down with a knee injury. And then he went down the following season. And then he didn't play for a season, I believe. I don't know what the Bears were thinking. Let's go get Jason Peters to play left tackle. Now, if he were a guard, okay, I have support from my center and my tackle. But as a tackle, sometimes you might have support from a tight end and your guard, but most of the time, your guard is double teaming with your center. Now, I don't know if the Bears run a 2 tight end offense or not. I know they have Graham and they drafted Cole Kmet out of Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, the Bears will run a lot of 2 tight ends.
They're going to have to, dude. Honestly, they're going to have to with Jason Peters. Jason Peters did a lot for my Eagles team, but he's garbage now. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope you guys get a good tackle like I got to watch for many years. But I can't remember the last time he played a full entire healthy season. I think those knees and that back are just shot.
Well, I mean, you could be right. I mean, the main problem the Bears ran into was the fact that, one, Charles Leno Jr. was a cap casualty.
Yep.
He wasn't great, but he was serviceable. I mean, if you look at the Bears offensive line, from the start of last year to the end of last year, especially up until now, their two starting tackles are gone. Bobby Massey and Charles Leno are both gone.
Yep.
But the Bears drafted Tevin Jenkins with the hope that he will be the left tackle of the future. Problem is, he had some medical issues, during the draft that kind of caused him to slip. And then I guess there were different medical issues that caused him to have back surgery, when he missed all of training camp. So the Bears were in a position where they needed a left tackle, and I guess the O-line coach Juan Castillo knows him from days when he coached him at other teams, and said that we should get this guy. I'm like you. I don't know how much he has left at 39 years old. I mean, 39 years old playing football.
That's old. That's super.
That's old. I mean, honestly, you're talking about, especially 39 years old with that much weight on your body.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Trying to get out, from a stance and trying to, pass block. I mean, look, run blocking is easy. You just get up and maul somebody.
Yep.
But you got to be a little bit, especially playing left tackle, you have to be a little bit athletic to play that position.
Oh, you
and
do?
I'm like, yeah, and I'm like you. I'm not as confident.
Yeah, I'm not
per se. But that's part of the reason why maybe you started Justin Fields, that maybe the offensive line is bad and he can make something out of nothing.
Did they sign Peters before or after the draft? I want to make sure before I ask.
It was after the draft. It was after it was announced that Tevin Jenkins was. I believe it was announced after Tevin Jenkins was going to have surgery on his back. So they needed help.
You know what? Actually, I could still ask this question. If you draft a good they finally draft a good quarterback. Let's face it, the Bears aren't known for drafting good quarterbacks.
No.
They finally draft a good quarterback. You have a tackle you have an offensive lineman that goes down with surgery, injury, whatever. Why do you go out and get a man like Jason Peters? Justin Fields, whenever he comes in, it's going to be new to him. I don't care what he does at practice, how much he practices. It's going to be new. I mean, game speed. Another team coming at you, and they have such a high-risk player playing on your blind side. I'm terrified for the kid, man. I really am. I guess you could say I'm about to jump on the bandwagon, but I finally want to become a Bears fan, along with liking my Eagles are always number one.
Sure.
But I've always wanted to jump on this bandwagon. I want to jump on the wagon, and finally I can, but then I'm so terrified for Justin Fields with Jason Peters in there, man. I really am. And that's coming from an Eagles fan, and I've experienced it. I've experienced watching my quarterback get killed by terrible offensive line.
Well, and that's kind of the, I guess there's some Bears fans that are like that. There's some Bears fans that are like, hey, look, maybe this is why Justin Fields isn't starting in week one, because he's behind this porous offensive line. He's going to get hurt. I mean, people are throwing out the comparisons of David Carr. David Carr was a highly touted rookie. When he was drafted by the Texans, he got beat up to a point where, cut his career short. I don't know if that's the reason why he was bad, but there is a segment of Bears fans that are just like, hey, we want everything to be perfect. We need we don't want to put the prized possession, behind a piss poor offensive line.
It kind of, I don't know the word I'm looking for. it kind of takes away the purpose of having a high caliber quarterback. I always say this as I'm listening to the game on the TV right now. Tom Brady is not Tom Brady without that front five. I don't care how good you are. If you don't have good protection, it's going to be a really bad career for you.
Well, yes and no. I mean, look, I also will put some of this on Nagy as well. Look, if you have a porous offensive line, especially as your tackles, you can do things. You can chip block with a tight end or a running back. You can, hell, if you can't block it up, I mean, you can screen them, or you can throw, short passes to kind of get the ball out of the quarterback's hands, quickly. Kind of alleviate the pass rush. You can do that, but that's the offensive coordinator. That's Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
If he see, and then also I think one of the things that kind of helped the Bears out last year too was, you had a mobile quarterback. I mean, that could, and like I said, if Fields would have started from day one with this offensive line, I would have had no problem with it. I understood, the reasons they didn't, but as a fan, I want to see it because, he's able to, do more. He's able to get out of the pocket. And just look at that throw he made against Tennessee to Jasper Horsted in the final preseason game. Protection broke down, and he was able to throw. I mean, it wasn't a picture perfect spiral, but I mean, he threw a very nice ball to him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was listening to the score this morning, and I heard a comment that Matt Nagy made, and hopefully he doesn't end up eating his own words. I heard he made a comment saying he feels very comfortable and confident as the play caller for that offense. What are your?
I mean, look. I mean, the Bears' offense hasn't worked since Matt Nagy's offense. Let me rephrase that. Matt Nagy's offense hasn't worked since the first half of 2018.
I mean, you say something like that, you better win.
Yeah, I mean, he's, you don't want to get to a point again where he's giving away his play calling duties because the offense isn't working.
Yeah.
I mean, he was hired because he's an offensive mind. But the Bears offense, has been offensive, for lack of a better term, and since he's been here. Whether that's his play calling, whether it's quarterback play, whether it's offensive line, there's tons of reasons why his offense hasn't worked.
And another topic I want to moving on. Unless you had more to say on that, what we were talking about. Okay. Hopefully to alleviate a lot of pressure with Andy Dalton, of course, and whenever Fields comes in, David Montgomery. I am very high on David Montgomery. But as you know, in the past, he hasn't been used properly. I know last year he rushed for over 1,000 yards. With like 1,017 yards or something, I think he rushed for.
Yeah.
And now it looks like he's the number one back. Or Tariq Cohen's out, which I'm very happy with. Because I never liked how they use those two. They use Tariq Cohen as like their hard-hitting back. They use their smaller guy as the hard hitter, and they use their bigger back as the pass catcher, which made no sense to me. But this year, I really want to see David Montgomery really go for it all, man. I'm really happy that he's the number one back over there now.
Well, there's a couple of things here. Number one, I wonder this Matt Nagy scheme or the Andy Reid scheme per se. There's always been a running back by committee.
Yeah.
I mean, and this goes back. I mean, the Chiefs have done it. Even the Bears for the most part have had this kind of this running back by committee where just like you said, they'll use Tariq Cohen for stuff and use David Montgomery for other things as well. but I think, the Bears want, I mean, the guy that's probably going to be a vulture, if you want to use a fantasy football term, is probably going to be Damian Williams, who's a former Chief.
I
Uh,
forgot they signed him.
I mean, that's the person who's probably going to get, I would say, 30% of the carries, if things like that, or on passing downs as well. But it also comes down to Matt Nagy. It's probably going to be a repetitive, name that we keep bringing up, whether it's on this show or future show. But it comes down to Matt Nagy and how he calls plays. He said he wants to run the ball, 20, 25 times a game. Well, we want to see it. It wasn't up until he gave up play calling duties where we actually got a consistent running attack.
Like the last 4 games of the season last year?
Well, it was the last 6. I mean, the last 6 games, David Montgomery ran over 604 yards and had 7 touchdowns.
That's amazing.
So, 60% of his, run total for the year came in the final six games when, the primary play caller really, basically gave up play calling duties. Yeah. Look, I like running the football. When I coach, football, I wanted to throw the football, but there's nothing more demoralizing than they're running a football. Yeah, there was nothing that I enjoyed more. But we got a coach who wants to get cute. Don't be cute.
No, just go out there, run the ball, throw your passes, and just win football games. That's all they.
I mean, look, the old adage says you throw to score and you run to win.
I like that.
And that's what the Bears need to do. The Bears need to get back to, look, I'm not saying it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust and go back to the way it was in the 60s and 70s. No, you need to play some modern NFL offense, where you can throw the ball around. But if you need to run it and get 6-7 yards, yeah, do that. But I also want to see them, run the ball, 20, 22 times a game, because David Montgomery is a guy who gets better as he gets lathered up. And for what I've been reading, he said he's getting faster this year. So, I want to see that speed, but, everything, like I said, comes down to Matt Nagy.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good point. All right, moving on. You wanted to talk defense.
Yeah, look.
Injuries, right? They have a few injuries.
Well, yeah. I mean, right now, the key injury right now is the Eddie Goldman. He's, the Bears missed him last year. I mean, he sat out last year because of COVID and, concerns about that, which is understandable. This year, he's supposed to be healthy and everything. He's the anchor of that defense, of being the nose tackle. But if he's not healthy, if Akeem Hicks isn't healthy, then it doesn't matter. I mean, and plus, you got to keep Khalil Mack healthy as well. I mean, he was on an injury report today. I mean, he's on an injury report every week last year, and he's on there for week 1. But this defense has got to stay healthy. They got to get a pass rush outside of Khalil Mack. Robert Quinn has to be a stud this year. He needs to be a stud in order for this defense to thrive. I do like the fact that they picked up Alec Ogletree, free agent. He came in and, the first 3 or 4 days of camp, he's getting interceptions, and, starting him and Roquan Smith, 2 Georgia linebackers, that should be a good thing. But, I have my concerns about the secondary in terms of the corner opposite side of Jaylon Johnson. I like Johnson. I think he's a good player, but can he match up against teams number 1, especially when you don't have Kyle Fuller anymore, who unfortunately was a cap casualty. And, they like the young guys that they have. We have to see. And then also, Eddie Jackson. Eddie Jackson has to be a playmaker again. Eddie Jackson has to be that guy that takes the chances and and gets those interceptions. I mean, the first 2 or 3 years in the league, he was an all-pro. In the past 2 years, he's been bad. He's been bad.
He hasn't been around.
You know?
If the Bears aren't successful, say the first, because now we have 17 games.
Mm-hmm.
If the Bears aren't successful in their first, I don't know, 6 or 7 games, what do you think happens with Nagy?
Oh, he stays.
Oh, he's
Look, yeah, look, the Bears kind of said the quiet thing loudly.
Yeah.
When they drafted Justin Fields, that gave them at least another 2 years.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's in essence what happened, because we as fans or the media members don't even know if Brian Pace and Matt Nagy received contract extensions. They don't. I would like to know that, but I just figured that since they drafted Justin Fields, that gave them another 2-3 years personally. But it's interesting. I was looking at the Bears schedule, and look, obviously things have to go right and stuff like that. But it is the NFL, and crazy things have happened.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the Bears could be 500 going into that bye week, or 3-1 after the first 4 games. I mean, the first 4 games are the Rams, the Browns, the Lions, and I'm missing one. Oh, and the Bengals. I mean, the Bears could be 3-1, 2-2 after the first 4.
Yeah. I think I texted you guys. I feel the Bears will go, I think 3-3 before they hit Scott's team, Oakland.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they had the Raiders and I had the Packers before the bye week.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where I think the Bears can beat the Raiders. I
think I said they'll go 3-3 before they hit Green Bay. That's what I said.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the NFL is funky, and they can be 4-4 by the bye week.
Okay. That wouldn't be bad considering their schedule and the team. I mean, especially with 17 games, that extra game really gives, in my opinion, it gives a big cushion to teams with that extra game. You know what I mean?
No, I think it's the opposite. I think that extra game gives a lot of teams incentive to fire head coaches, because now there's no more mediocrity. There's no more 500 football teams anymore.
I didn't think of it that way. I like the 500 point.
Now, if the team wins 8 games, it's not 8-8 anymore. Now you're 8-9.
Yeah, good point, man. Good point. So, all right, well, I think we covered all we can. I mean, considering we're just going into week 1, this is more of a, I don't know, expectation video, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, my expectations for the Bears are pretty simple. I mean, if once again, I made the joke to a buddy of mine that said if Justin Fields was starting from day 1, the Bears would go 17-0 and win a Super Bowl. But I was joking. But I mean, the expectation for me is pretty simple. If I think 7 and 8 wins is probably the max for this team. I mean, stranger things have happened, but I think 7 to 8 wins is doable. But the most important thing, honestly, within this whole 2011 season is to play up number 1. He is the most. I'm going to say something. I'm sure people are going to kind of hiss at me when they read or when they see this video, and we might get some text messages. The most important player in the city of Chicago is Justin Fields.
As far as football or sports?
Sports in general. The most important player in the city of Chicago is Justin Fields. He is the most important player.
I see and hear what you're saying. I don't know how I feel about it, but I do understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying.
Well, here's why. Number one, he plays for probably the most important franchise in the city of Chicago. Because let's be honest, if the Bears are winning, this city goes berserk.
Okay.
Number two, he plays the most important position in all of sports.
I like that. Like I said, I understand what you're saying. I don't know. I can't tell you if I agree or disagree with you. I'm going to research that a little bit. I'm going to, well, not research. I'm going to examine that statement a little bit
That's
more.
fine.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yes. And
That's fine.
I'll let you know later if I agree or disagree with you.
And look, I've gotten plenty of.
You're talking football, baseball, basketball, hockey.
Yeah, he is the most important player in Chicago sports right now.
Okay.
And moving forward.
Okay.
He's more important than Eloy, more important than Robert, more important than Zach Levine, more important than Kane, more important than, I can't even name a Cubs player right now. Wilson Contreras at this point. Right? Yeah, he's more important than Wisdom and Hap at this point. But I actually got into some disagreements on Twitter and said basically if Justin Fields wins 1 or 2 Super Bowls, he'll probably be right there with Jordan in terms of importance to the city.
Ooh. Okay.
Why? Because the Bears are the most important team in this town, and he plays the most important position in sports. If Justin Fields somehow wins 1 or 2 Super Bowls, there's an argument to be made for that. I'll go with 2 Super Bowls. 2 Super Bowls.
Just 2.
2 Super Bowls. Look, if he pulls a Brady and wins 6.
Stop.
Oh, yeah. No, but if he wins one or 2, and he's the best player in doing it, and he turns out to be, a top 2 or 3 quarterback in this league, then yeah, he can topple Jordan as being, the most important player ever within the city of Chicago, or within, yeah. I mean, but he has to go out and play.
Oh yeah, that's the most important thing. He's got to go out there and play.
Yeah, Bears fans have high expectations for Justin Fields. I mean, I saw something today that the dude hasn't even played a regular season game, and his jersey is 4th in all the sales in the NFL.
Yeah, isn't he beating out Pat Mahomes?
No, I think Mahomes is number 1.
I heard he's beating out Pat Mahomes' jersey sales.
Oh, okay. Well, but he's number 4.
That's still really good for not taking a single snap in a real game yet. That's
well, I mean,
good.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows you like the level of importance that he means for the city of Chicago. Look,
I even told you. I don't know if it was before we started recording tonight or before. I'm an Eagles fan. I told my wife, I think I want a Justin Fields jersey because I feel and I see the excitement and the expectations and the anticipation for this kid. And I want to be part of that because, I mean, I just want to like the Bears now because they finally did something.
Yeah, look,
they did something in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, they got something, hopefully that the Bears haven't had since the 40s, man. I mean, look, how many times this year up until like even when Justin Fields starts a game, you're going to hear about the clown car quarterbacks that have come through here since Jim McMahon. I mean, that's what you're going to hear.
Yep. They're going to do like the Browns do with their quarterbacks.
Yeah,
or all the names on.
Or when the Bears play the Packers, you're going to see one side. You're going to see all the quarterbacks that the Packers had, since '85, which is basically, since Favre. Let's go with that. Favre and Rodgers, and maybe a couple because of injuries. And then you're going to see this whole list of Bears quarterbacks, which, like I said, it's been bad. Look, I was excited when Bears drafted Rex Grossman. Didn't turn out too well. I was. Look, and to be honest with you, I wasn't as excited when the Bears drafted Trubisky. I rooted for him because he's the quarterback of my team. But
Yeah.
I told you guys before, I didn't want the Bears to trade up. I wanted the Bears to trade down. The quarterback that I wanted was Mahomes.
Yeah, but that's that ship has sailed. So.
Oh, I know. But Bears have Fields now. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. And Bears fans can only hope that he has a healthy and great career, because if he does, this team is going to be good. If your quarterback is great, you cover up a lot of crap.
Yep, absolutely. All right, to close things out, Bears are playing the LA Rams in LA week 1. Matthew Stafford throwing the ball, Aaron Donald on the other side on defense. Who do you got winning? What score are you going with?
I'm gonna go Rams. I'm gonna go Rams 31-14.
Okay. I'm gonna go Rams 28-17. I don't think that defense will be super terrible. Same thing with the offense, but I don't think they'll have enough to edge the Rams out.
Yeah, I don't think the Bears, as much as I think the Bears are strong inside with Whitehair, the center whose name escapes me, Sam Mustipher and James Daniels. Aaron Donald is just a different guy.
Yeah. If Aaron Donald is 100% healthy, I think the run is no run.
Yeah, and then on the defensive side, like I said, I mean, Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn have to get pressure, and then Sean McVay is a great coordinator, and he'll find a weakness within that secondary. And right now, Jalen Johnson is good, but he's not Kyle Fuller good, and Cooper Kupp and Deshaun Jackson, all of them might have a field day.
Well, before we close things up, I want to give a score prediction, probably from one of the greatest Bears analysts I've ever talked to. In the score he gave, and the reason he gave this score, it's so smart, it's so football savvy, and it just blows my mind. Our buddy Scott. He's given LA the win 24-13.
Mm-hmm.
This reason will blow your goddamn mind. And when I read this, I was like, oh my God. Get the damn ESPN cameras on this man right now. His reason why the Rams will beat the Bears 24-13. The Bears coach calls bad plays, and the Rams coach doesn't.
Yeah, that's great analysis right there.
That is top shelf, first take, ESPN shit right there.
Hey, he basically summed up the game in one sentence. Show's over. Show's over.
We did not need to be on here for 45 minutes doing this.
No, show's over.
All we had to say was Rams win 24-13. Why? The Bears coach calls bad plays. LA doesn't.
Yep, we're done. Show's over. Show's over.
So every week we need to have Scott give his prediction. 30 seconds, in and out of this.
Yep.
We got shit to do.
Yep.
So, but no, in all seriousness, I wish Scott would have been on here. I like his take on football, but he had things to do with the kids. That's far more important.
It's all good. It's all good.
So, well, if that's all you got, that's all I have. And let's hope for a good week 1 for all of our teams. Scott's Raiders, my Eagles, your Bears.
Yeah, look, I mean, look, if the next time, we reconvene to talk football, I hope all three of our teams will want to know.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
you know, honestly, I think if all three of our teams are good, it makes for a compelling show. Actually, if all three of our teams are bad, I still think it makes for a compelling show.
Oh yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. We're fans of the three teams with the greatest fan bases in all of football.
Oh yeah, I
If you
mean,
ask me,
yeah,
we're not douchebags at all when
no,
it comes to our
no.
fans.
Yeah, I mean, we give each other crap about our teams, but that's what we do, and
Absolutely.
and go from there.
So, all right. Well, if you don't have nothing else, so
I'm good.
and remember, Chicago tough sports fans, stay tough. And Carson Wentz is the goddamn goat.
I thought I was a goat.
You're the second goat.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take that. I don't have a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah. So, all right, man. Until next time.
Yep.